right, and that brings us to one of our most popular segments from last season, 7 Minutes in Heaven. David, remind them why we do this.
Because every film has standout moments, whether it's good or a bad film. This is the time that we take a moment to appreciate those standout moments. And we all know what 7 Minutes in Heaven is. It's a beautiful thing that you experienced most likely as a teenager. And these are the scenes in films that make us feel like that.
Yes, I mentioned this one earlier, David. So I'm going to go right into it here. If it didn't make the cut, as we call it here, it was when Brody's character, Jason Lee's character, at the beginning here is in the car giving advice to Tom Cruise's character. To me, him riding around saying, "We almost died. Your life flashed before my eyes." He says, "My dream girl is your buddy." It is setting up so much so fast about really the integrity of and the type of person that Jason Lee's character portrays, that the irony that years later he does a show, My Name is Earl, and has a list of things he has to make up for. Well, you got a lot more to make up for, pal, but that beginning scene of them riding in the car together, that's one of my top 3 scenes from the film.
Okay, there's so many good scenes in this movie. How is that? That's like nothing.
To you?
Okay. My number 3 is after he's spending that amazing night with Sophia. He's professing that he's going to change. He walks out in the morning to be confronted by Jolie, and that moment you immediately know that there is something grave. Like the way that moment was portrayed, between the acting, the cinematography, the editing, there was something that felt so heavy about that moment where he's standing outside and Jolie pulls up, and when she gives him the choice to get in the car, you know as the audience member that he's made the wrong choice. You know that before he does. And then all the way to the point where she's, playing the song and she's flipping out on him and end up driving off the bridge. Like that whole moment felt so heavy, like real life heavy. Like this is a very important decision that's being made. These are the consequences, and it all it was just delivered very, very well. And if you notice, the place where Jolie picks him up from outside of Sophia's apartment is the same place that Sophia picks him up from the night after the club. So that's where, and it's weird that's where he chose his splice to be when he begins lucid dreaming.
It's not weird though, because that's where it happened. That's where it sever. Yeah. Had he did what he said he was going to do, his life would have went completely different, but he didn't, and that's what happened.
And one more thing about that, I think what made that part so heavy was the casting. Like, the fact that Cameron Diaz is the person, because this is, I don't even think up until this moment, Cameron Diaz has never played a role so tragic, and in a movie so
heavy.
Yeah, and like dark. And for them to cast her as that person, that made that whole moment, and that made her death feel as jarring as it does in real life, because it comes unexpectedly because of the casting choice.
Most people would disagree with me in this, but because, see, here's the thing about it. I know how to be vibrant and lively and portray myself a certain way, but to me, as a fan of film, I did Cameron Diaz more as a villainous character than the happy-go-lucky kind, because to me, she'll never win an Oscar doing the happy Joe Lucky. Because she's great at that. She reminds me of freaking Christy from the Three's Company. She's just, spunky, Charlie's Angel. Yeah, I get it. You're always going to be great at that. But you got range, kids. You can do that too. So I agree with you on that. I like that. I definitely like that. My second scene was that board meeting with those doctors the first time. Oh my God! When Tom Cruise comes out, he was like, "Medicine, ooh!" If you know the history of Tom Cruise from Scientology and everything, and furthermore, they're also poking fun at Big Pharma, basically stating, here's a guy that has all the money in the world at the time, 150 years before spending it on life extension, but has all the money in the world, and they're sitting here telling him, modern medicine is telling him, which he doesn't believe in, is that there is nothing you can do. We can do something about your arm. Okay. Yeah. And then he probably yells out one of the best lines of this film. Well, for a second, I thought we were talking about a mask. To me, that's the number 2 scene in the film. And again, it has nothing to do with visual effects or anything. It's just Tom Cruise.
Halloween is taken care of.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
All those things are being said. So to me, that's the top number 2 scene in the film for me.
That was that was an awesome one. I remember loving that when I saw it in theaters. That was just like, all right,
Medicine.
yeah.
Woo!
This is kind of like a two-parter. It's the same concept in the scene, but it kind of splits up. The first, it's the Sophie Jolie switch. I like how it's revealed the first time when he comes out of the bathroom and Cameron Diaz comes up from around them in the bed and then next thing you know, he's in jail, and they show you that picture of like, I want you to see what you did to her. That was like oh my God. It was just one of those moments that felt so. It was like I never expected in my life to see Cameron Diaz look like that, and you're telling me that the protagonist of the movie did this to her. That was jarring, and I really liked how you don't know if. Like, at that point, you realize that you can't trust the lead character in the movie. You can't trust their narrative because they're either lying to you from the future or they're having a mental breakdown in the present that you're watching. And either way, it's unreliable. But then the climax of that happening is when, of course, he returns to the apartment. Cameron Diaz goes in the kitchen, and then Penelope Cruz comes out, and he's like, "Oh, good, everything's good now." And then they're having sex later, and she keeps switching back and forth, and Cameron Diaz is like taunting him. And when he puts the pillow over her, and
that's really the most confusing part of the movie because even you as an audience member don't know what the is going on at that point in time.
And it's almost like the editing fell. Like the editing got more jarring right there. Like the cuts got like
quicker,
weird splice cuts, like almost like his mind was breaking down how he was perceiving this.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Jerry Bruckheimer cuts.
Like all of them, I would say they were like Peter Fonda, like the old school, like back when they'd have to chop things up on the actual tape. Mm-hmm. They would be those like weird jarring jump cuts, but it's like the way the pillow jumps from right here, like it's almost like I have no control over this happening. It's already done. It jumps.
But you've noticed that same thing happened when he was with Sophia, but when he was really in love from the scene where her breasts were exposed. Mm-hmm. It was the love. Still no control. It's like it's showing you like, wait a minute, if in its simplest form, if you take a step back as a human being to just look, and if you were just looking at just like, well, this is something wrong here. Why would that do that? Why would that do that? You now know you're not in reality. You're in suspended reality.
The music in that scene too is just like the rest of the movie. The music that whoever was and I'm pretty sure Cameron Crowe had a pretty heavy hand in where the music went and how it played into the movie itself, but. The use of the music in that moment and using "What If God Was One of Us" and when he pulls the pillow down and he reveals the mole and he like either way whether it doesn't matter who is under that pillow, he's killed somebody that he cared about.
Right.
No matter how they're represented, this is Sophia. We know that it's somebody that he cared about, and he just killed her. And when that music comes back in, when he realizes it, when he catches up to where we are as the audience, and knows that what he's done, the gravity of it is sold so well, and the way the scene is brought to life. I thought it was one of my. That's almost like a tie for my number one favorite scene.
Gotcha. My number one scene is ironically, I'm going to dive more deeply into it than you did. Was actually your number 3 scene. Was when he got in the car with Cameron Diaz. That was my number 1 scene, and the reason for that being is I think that Cameron Diaz absolutely. I don't remember seeing this the first time I watched it, but doing my rewatch, I don't want to see anyone else, even though we did the character switch before, I don't want to see anyone else playing that scene other than her, because it reeks of sociopath, it reeks of just villainesque, it reeks of, she basically mirrored what he was. It was all about her and what she wanted, and it was all about him and what he wanted. From her to go from A to Z. She picked him up at A, and by the time she drove off that bridge and hit the ground, she was at Z. And this happens within the confines of real actual time watching, maybe 2.5, maybe 3 minutes max, maybe. And you are on a crescendo of cinematic expertise at its finest, almost as if they didn't even tell Tom Cruise what her dialogue was. I was looking in Tom Cruise's eyes and I saw real fear. Like, wait a minute, he was like, nah, I love you. He was trying everything. He was, I love you, car. Let's go back to the house and talk about it. We can do something. And then he finally like, okay, this shit ain't working. Pull the car over. All right, this ain't listening. Grab the whip. He went for every single thing. You know what? He had never been out of control until that point. And to my point, I'm like, damn, Cameron Diaz literally just killed this scene. And so again, I don't remember feeling that way the first time I watched it, but I even got to admit it to you, rewatching that was my favorite scene of the film, and it really holds a lot of weight with me and what she did on that. So yeah, that's my number one.
Yeah, it's a powerful scene. That is the pivotal scene in the movie that changes everything. Without that scene, there is no Vanilla Sky.
Yes.
My number one favorite scene it's another scene that is steered perfectly by the music and the choice of song that they placed there. Good Vibrations, Beach Boys. Come on. This movie changed this song for me. One, I'd only heard the song in passing because it's a Beach Boys song and it's on the radio every now and then. But after I saw this movie, the movie made the song take on a whole new meaning, which is, I mean, when a movie can do that, when a movie can not only give you a good movie, but also reinvigorate a song for you, that's like a double win. So this Good Vibrations begins playing as he begins to realize that he's lucid dreaming, and then as the music builds, he bursts out he pulls the mask off and reveals his face is still messed up, and then he bursts out of the door as the music comes to a crash, and he's like, I want to wake up, tech support, it's a nightmare. Which
you can't hear, because I didn't know what he said until I just looked at your nose. He went, nightmare. Hold door for all my Game of Thrones fans out there. He'll never watch it, but no. GOT, House Stark, baby.
I just thought it was that was a fantastic scene, and that scene is not only my favorite scene, but made Good Vibrations one of my favorite songs.
Awesome, man. Well, that's 7 Minutes in Heaven, guys. And for me to find 3 scenes in Vanilla Sky that I really liked, I guess there is a God. Say that.
That is not.
Why don't you subscribe? It'll last longer.